My name is Margaret Hayes, and at 72 years old, I thought I'd seen everything life had to offer. The good, the bad, and everything in between. But that afternoon on the Sapphire Princess cruise ship proved me wrong. I was wearing my favorite silk blouse, the one with the delicate floral pattern my late husband Robert had given me for our 40th anniversary. 5 years had passed since I lost him, and our son Daniel had insisted on this family cruise to lift everyone's spirits. Daniel was 45 now, still with that infectious laugh that could fill a room. He sat across from me at our table, in the formal dining room, his sandy hair catching the afternoon light streaming through the massive windows. The ocean stretched endlessly beyond, deep blue and peaceful. Next to him sat Vanessa, his wife of 12 years. She was beautiful in that careful, calculated way some women are. Her auburn hair fell in perfect waves, her makeup flawless, her designer dress precisely chosen. She held her phone up, snapping photos of the elaborate chandelier above us. "Mom, you should try the lobster," Daniel said, his eyes crinkling with that familiar warmth. "It's incredible." I smiled at my son, my heart full despite the empty chair beside me where Robert should have been. "Maybe I will, sweetheart." Our waitress, a young woman named Christina with kind eyes and a nervous smile, approached our table. She seemed attentive, perhaps too attentive. As she leaned in to refill my water glass, her hand trembled slightly. Then, it happened. Christina stumbled, just barely, and a small folded napkin fell from her apron pocket directly into my lap. Our eyes met for just a fraction of a second. In that brief moment, I saw fear, urgency, and something else, a silent plea. I glanced down. Written on the napkin in hurried handwriting were 3 words. "Call 911. Please." My blood ran cold. But I've learned something in my 72 years. Panic helps no one. I took a slow breath and casually tucked the napkin into my purse while Daniel continued talking about the evening's entertainment. Vanessa was absorbed in her phone, barely touching her food. This wasn't unusual anymore. Over the past year, she'd become increasingly distant, always texting, always somewhere else even when she was sitting right there. "I need to powder my nose," I announced calmly, rising from my seat. "Don't wait for me. Enjoy your meals." In the restroom, I unfolded the napkin with shaking hands. On the other side was more writing. "Your daughter-in-law. Cabin B247. Please help." Christina. I steadied myself against the marble counter, my reflection staring back at me. Older, yes. Grayer, certainly. But my eyes still held the same determination they'd always had. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I didn't call security immediately. Something in Christina's terrified eyes told me this required discretion. Instead, I returned to the table, watching Vanessa more carefully now. She was texting furiously, her lips curved in a small, secret smile. Then she stood abruptly. "I'm not feeling well. I think I'll go rest." "Want me to come with you?" Daniel asked, concerned. "No." Her response was too quick, too sharp. "I mean, no, honey. You stay with your mother. I just need to lie down." After she left, Daniel sighed. "She's been so stressed lately. I'm worried about her." My sweet, trusting son, always seeing the best in everyone. 20 minutes passed. I excused myself again, claiming I wanted to check on Vanessa, but instead, I found myself walking slowly, deliberately, toward cabin B247. The corridor was quiet, carpeted in deep burgundy. My heart pounded as I approached the door. I raised my hand to knock when I heard voices inside. Vanessa's voice, and a man's voice I didn't recognize. "You can't keep asking for more money," Vanessa hissed. "Why not? Seems like your husband's mother has plenty," the man replied. "That jewelry she's wearing could fund my next 3 business deals." "That's not how this works, Marcus." Marcus? The name felt like ice water in my veins. 3 years ago, Daniel had mentioned Vanessa's old college boyfriend, Marcus something. He'd briefly come back into their lives, and Daniel had been uncomfortable with how much time they spent together. "Then maybe I should tell Daniel everything," Marcus said, his voice cold. "About us. About where his investment money really went." My hand was still raised when the door suddenly opened. Vanessa froze, her face draining of all color as she saw me standing there. "Margaret," she whispered. Behind her, I could see a man in his late 40s, expensive suit, cold eyes. And in that moment, everything became clear. The mysterious business expenses Daniel had mentioned. The missing funds from Robert's trust that was supposed to go to Daniel. Vanessa's distance. All of it, but I didn't confront them. Not yet. I simply smiled, that calm smile perfected over decades. "I was worried about you, dear. Daniel said you weren't feeling well." Vanessa's hands trembled as she stepped into the hallway, pulling the door closed behind her. I'm fine. Just needed some air. This is an old friend, Marcus, from college." "How lovely," said softly. "Well, don't let me interrupt. I'll let Daniel know you're feeling better." I walked away slowly, my mind racing but my expression serene. Behind me, I heard Vanessa frantically whispering to Marcus. Back in my cabin, I sat on the edge of my bed and finally allowed myself to feel the full weight of what I'd discovered. My son's wife was having an affair. Worse, she was stealing. From him. From us. But there was something more urgent. Christina's note had said, "Please help." What had she seen? What did she know? I called the ship security office. "This is Margaret Hayes in cabin A103. I need to speak with someone immediately about a safety concern. It's delicate." Within 15 minutes, a security officer named Thomas arrived at my door. He was professional, thorough, and most importantly, discreet. I showed him Christina's note and explained what I'd observed. "Mrs. Hayes, we've actually been monitoring some unusual activity," Thomas said quietly. "A passenger named Marcus Reeves has been flagged by port authorities. There's an outstanding warrant for financial fraud. And one of our servers reported seeing concerning interactions between him and a female passenger matching your daughter-in-law's description." My chest tightened. What kind of interactions? The kind that suggests she might be involved in his activities, or a victim of them. "We're not sure yet." Christina, it turned out, had recognized Marcus from news reports about his fraud cases. She'd seen Vanessa giving him something, later identified as Daniel's phone that had banking apps on it. Christina had been terrified to intervene, directly but desperate to help. The next few hours were a blur. Security moved quietly, professionally. By dinner time, Marcus was in custody, escorted off the ship at our next port. Vanessa was brought in for questioning. I sat with Daniel in my cabin as Thomas explained everything. I watched my son's face crumble as he learned about the affair, the money, the lies. His tears broke my heart more than anything else. "How could I have been so blind?" he whispered, his head in his hands. I moved beside him, wrapping my arms around my grown son just as I had when he was a little boy with scraped knees. "Oh, sweetheart, you loved her. You trusted her. That's not blindness. That's who you are, kind and trusting. And that's a beautiful thing. She used me, Mom. Used us." "Yes," I said softly. "Yes, she did. And she'll face consequences for that. But Daniel, listen to me. This doesn't define you. Your capacity to love, to trust. Don't let her steal that from you too." Vanessa was arrested at the next port. Charges included conspiracy to commit fraud, theft, and identity theft. The money she'd taken, most of it was recovered. Marcus had been planning to disappear with it, but Christina's brave note had stopped everything just in time. That evening, invited Christina to join Daniel and me for dinner. She was hesitant at first, worried about overstepping, but I insisted. "You saved my family," I told her, clasping her young hands in my older ones. "You saw something wrong, and despite being frightened, you did something about it. That takes courage." Christina's eyes filled with tears. "I almost didn't. I almost convinced myself it wasn't my business." "But you didn't," Daniel said quietly. He'd been so broken earlier, but now, I'd see strength returning to his eyes. "You chose kindness. You chose to help. Thank you." We sat together, three people brought together by betrayal, but choosing to focus on the kindness that had prevailed. The ocean stretched beyond the windows, vast and full of possibility. Over the next few days of the cruise, something shifted. Daniel began to smile again. Tentatively at first, then more genuinely. He spent time with Christina, learning about her dreams of becoming a nurse, her student loans, her struggles. Before we disembarked, he helped her with a generous scholarship fund, not out of debt, but because helping others was who my son truly was. As for Vanessa, I felt sadness more than anger. What a waste, I thought. She'd had love, security, family, and she'd traded it all for greed and the empty promises of a con man. Months later, back home, Daniel came to visit. We sat in my garden, the same garden where Robert had proposed to me 50 years earlier. Mom, Daniel said slowly, I've been thinking a lot about trust, about love. I'm scared to try again. I reached over and squeezed his hand. Of course, you are. But Daniel, Vanessa's betrayal doesn't mean love itself betrayed you. Real love exists. Your father and I had it. You deserve it too. How do you know when it's real? I thought about Robert, about our 50 years together. Real love is quiet and steady. It's someone who shows up, day after day. It's choosing each other, especially when it's hard. It's Christina calling security instead of looking away. That's what real love looks like in action. Seeing someone in danger and choosing to help, even when it's difficult. Daniel smiled, understanding. You really liked her, didn't you? I liked her courage, I said. And I think, maybe you did too? He blushed, my middle-aged son looking suddenly young again. We've been emailing. She's finishing nursing school next year. Good, I said simply. 2 years have passed since that cruise. Daniel and Christina were married last spring in my garden. It was a small ceremony, just close friends and family. She wore a simple white dress, and when she saw Daniel waiting for her, her face lit up with such genuine joy that I had to wipe away tears. As I watched them exchange vows, I thought about that note slipped into my lap. Call 911. Please. Such simple words, but they changed everything. Sometimes revenge isn't about retaliation. Sometimes it's simply about protecting what matters, about ensuring that truth wins over deception. Vanessa's actions destroyed her own life far more effectively than anything I could have done. And sometimes love comes from unexpected places. Not always where we first look, but exactly where we need it to be. Christina caught my eye during the reception and mouthed words. Thank you. I shook my head and mouthed back. No, thank you. Because she'd saved more than just money that day. She'd saved my son's faith and goodness. And she'd reminded an old woman that the world still held people brave enough to do the right thing, even when they're frightened. That night, I sat alone in my garden under the stars, Robert's absence still an ache in my heart. But I felt him there somehow, in the gentle breeze, in the moonlight on the roses he'd planted. We raised a good man, I whispered to the night sky. And he's found a good woman, finally. Liz long and full of surprises, both devastating and beautiful. At 74 now, I've learned that revenge is sweetest when it's simply living well, loving deeply, and watching goodness prevail, and kindness. Kindness is the note passed under a table by a frightened waitress who chooses to be brave. It's the foundation of everything else. Everything.